It's time to bring you yet another amazing episode. And now, welcome your host.
Good to have you on the show. This is Omobola Stephen, the host of Library Omobola Stephen. On the podcast Library Omobola Stephen, we feature professionals who are adept in the topics of personal development and self-improvement, because we've come to realize the importance of embracing personal development and self-improvement along the course of our lives, because when we do so, we tend to find ourselves along the way, and in finding ourselves, we realize that there's so much innate potentials and possibilities that life has in store for us now if we don't give up. Personal development and self-improvement is a lifelong process that you and I must embrace and constantly improve upon in order for us to see our life transform from where it is to where it is originally meant to be. Now, the mission and the focus of Library Omobola Stephen is to pivot the positive changes and transformations you and I need in life in order for us to really see our life fulfilled, both personally and other areas of life. Today, I have Tom Altman on the show, and he's the fractional CTO and tech leader. He fuels growth in organizations. Thank you, Tom, for joining me on Library Omobola Stephen.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me once again, and looking forward to a great time as we explore the topic on how we can align tech with business strategy to drive growth and innovation. I know that you are an expert in this field, and so I'm certain sure that we're going to have a worthwhile time together.
I'm looking forward to it.
Sure. Okay, so let me start the show with this question. Why is it crucial to have strong leadership in tech positions, especially for supporting and guiding lower level tech team members in an organization?
Yeah, great question. I always like to say, what things do you have in your company that are not technology these days? And it's almost nothing, right? So I think it's really important to have someone and some people that not only understand technology, but can help guide as we look forward to all the changing things that just always seem to surround itself with tech. It's just constantly evolving, constantly changing, and you don't want to get left behind.
All right. Thanks for sharing that with my audience. So really, how do you think that leaders in organizations, how can they align technology with their company's overall business strategy to drive growth? Now, we're talking in terms of how we can align technology with the company's system.
What I find the best way to align companies with technology is to first understand what technology they have. Now, that sounds a little silly question or statement at first, right? But it's true. You go into companies sometimes and I say, hey, can you show me a map of all the technology that you have right now? And they say, well, let's go ask this person. And it's not something that's been documented or written down. And for me, that's the first step. Let's get all your systems written down so we know what they are. And then let's talk about how they interact with each other. Once we figure out how they interact with each other, we can say, okay, well, what departments depend on this technology and what people are running that technology? And then we start to kind of just zoom in and get more detailed all the time. So once we have that information, we can start to say, okay, well, what are the important processes that this technology brings to your company? And then let's make sure we have those written down as well, because, things happen, people leave, and you want to be able to have continuity in those ever-changing aspects of the business. So we work on the systems maps first, then we work on who uses those systems, then we work on the process flow, and then we can get all the way down into the documentation, or sometimes we call them the SOPs, the standard operating procedures. And when we know that, then we can start to look for ways to become efficient, and automation, and potentially even AI in how we can start to leverage more things to get more done in the same amount of time. So that's the kind of scope or the kind of path that I like to use.
Okay, right. Now, in terms of technical solutions and visionary thinking, they work pari passu, especially in leadership situations. So I'm thinking, how do you think it can bridge the gap and also lead to business breakthroughs?
Yeah, I think leveraging a company's vision and mission is always where you want to start, because if you get too far away from that, it just seems like nothing gets satisfactory at that point. So what you like to do is make sure that you have a hold on what you've got going now. I mean, we got to make sure we understand and we can handle what we have. And then we can start to look forward. Where are there places where we can really grow? Where are some places where we can invest time, money, and energy, and really get, gains that are, exponential in style. So we're not trading 1 for 1s. We can trade 1 for 3s or 1 for 7s. And when we can find those kind of ratios in the technology, boy, things start to really step up. And I think a lot of times it comes down to better communication. I think when we can communicate what we want with people, and that can be communicated down into the people doing the work, it just seems like it works better. I think we always think about things. I always think about things in circles of communication. Sometimes before we had this podcast today, I had 3 discussions with myself on how it would go, right? And the details start to disappear the more conversations we have. And sometimes I think they're disappearing from the people that actually need them to do the work. So I think improving our communication styles and learning how to communicate the what that we need tends to produce better results, whether that be in, your manufacturing process or, in your technology processes.
All right, so the importance of communication cannot be overemphasized in this regard. So when we take away technology, what are we left with in the organization?
That's a good question. I think we're left with the people, we're left with the processes, we're left with, that information that we want to share so that everyone can understand what the greater good is and the goal of the situation. Because that's what we're trying to get to, whether that goal is more revenue or if that goal is more products and widgets. I think when we understand what those pieces are and really get down to the nitty-gritty details, I think that's when the magic can happen.
All right, thank you, Tom, really. So what advice will you give to leaders that are trying to stay ahead in technology while they also stay connected to their values? How can they work this out?
Yeah, well, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but if you can
Can
really
we share
look, I like to say, look in first so you know who you are, right? Write that down, get your documented of who you are. That allows you then to figure out what you want to be and what you can become. So inside first, and that's kind of how I approach. I get a lot of questions, how is this AI going to work for us, right? And to get AI to work, you really have to understand yourself. And there's 2 really key components to that. And one of them is data security and data governance is a really big word, but we used to protect data by accident, by putting in many folders that are 10 folders deep into our systems. But AI has no problem looking in to find that. So one of the big things that you can do is make sure you understand what data you have and who has access to it. That's going to really help you as you move forward in time, really just making sure that you have kind of the restraints on your data. And then as we've already looked in and we know who we are, then we can start to look at where are there opportunities for proficiency and where are the places that we can really push and kind of push the button harder to help the company grow. And I think once you know who you are and you have everything mapped out and you understand the processes, now we can start to see, okay, there's overlaps in the marketing department and the sales department, and we can find ways for efficiency there. And I think when you look in, it just makes it so much easier to look out ahead.
All right, so now in terms of bridging gaps between technical teams and executive leadership, what are some of the best ways that leaders can begin to walk this through?
I like to ask the C-suite to really reach down and try to understand what the technology team has. So if you think of all the things that they're doing, the analogy that I use is you never want to see your technology team running around the building or running around the company, right? Because when they're running, there's a problem. And so I like to, Bill Gates used to mention he liked to hire lazy programmers because they would figure out ways to automate their own job. And so when you see teams kind of just almost, maybe not literally putting their feet up on their desk, but when they're comfortable, that can be a good thing, right? Because that means that the emergencies and the fires are not happening and they're able to work on the things that help the company grow and build. I used to say I like to have an invisible IT team. Like the things that happen that you think are going to happen, happen. I've changed my tune on that a little bit because I think you still have some marketing that needs to be done because you have to tell people that you did do these wonderful things. Because if you do your job too well, it almost becomes like totally invisible, and then no one thinks that there's any good use of technology. But when you can help companies and help understand the C-suite, technology can really be a helping hand in progressing the company. And when the vision is aligned with the technology, good things happen.
Tom, you are a fractional CTO and tech leader, and your role in a business organization is absolutely important, if we must agree on that. But in terms of those who are startups, how can you help them, or how can a fractional CTO and tech leader, because you also take this position, how can you assist this set of people, to pull their business through and attain the success they intend to have in their business organization?
Yeah, what I love about all fractionals for startup type companies is that number one, most fractionals have a lot of experience. So a lot of the things that these companies need, these people, the fractionals have seen this before. So one, immediately you get experience. And that's something that in a startup, there's a lot of little hiccups and a lot of little road bumps, and it's going to be hard. But there are a few things that are going to be like really painful. And if you can find someone to help you on a fractional basis, even though it seems expensive at first, that experience is pivotal, especially when you're doing a startup and starting certain things. I think of the technology, I think of the financing, I think of all the little pieces that there's so much for a founder to learn. And it's almost like a fractional is also tends to be somewhat of a mentor role in a startup. And it really can help you in the long run to kind of plan ahead and make sure you don't make some of the big mistakes that tend to shut some of these startups down.
Right, good to know. Thanks for sharing that with my audience, really. So we know that technology is always changing by the day. And so how do you think that we can build an innovative technology at such a time as this?
Yeah. I mean, we all need this. I mean, AI and automation is coming whether we want it to or not. I mean, we hear a lot about AI agents and how they're going to, do the work for us. But just like our regular employees, they need to know exactly what the things that we want done. So that's my soapbox that I stand on here and say, really understand your business for when these agents get here, they'll be able to take your information and really help you progress. And so if you can really just dig into the details of your business, really understand them, document them, I think you're going to be setting yourself up for great success when the age of AI agents really gets here and takes off.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. In terms of AI and also innovative technology, I'm thinking, how do you think we are going to survive, especially the business organization?
Yeah, I like to use, past history to, produce these events, right? And technology came to farming a long time ago. We replaced horses with tractors, and a whole new, there's just a whole new set of people that came out. When I was starting in the web development field in the early 2000s, there was no such thing as social media or social media influencers. So I think we have to kind of believe that something will come up, something more will evolve. There's so many jobs right now that didn't exist 20 years ago that I think, you look at 2005 as 20 years ago, and there was no such thing as a smartphone yet. It was 2 years away from a smartphone. And so you think of all the things that AI and automations and AI agents are going to produce for us. We can't even fathom it right now. So I think we just have to be ready, open, willing, learning, willing to just change. And I think what we'll see is we'll probably be having this conversation again in 20 more years and saying, wow, well, that was interesting. I didn't see that coming. That was wild, and I think the things that will evolve and grow are just things that many of us can't even think of yet.
All right, Tom. So my audience are excited about any news you have for them. Perhaps you have a project you think it's going to benefit them in the long run. You can share that if you have any.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm saying the exact same things over and over, but 2025 for me is the year of knowing yourself so that you can be ready to take advantage of these things in 2026 and beyond. So just really get to know yourself, get to know your people, learn about your company as much as you can, even though you think you know everything. Really, kind of look at it from that outside lens. And if you can do that, I have high confidence that you'll be highly successful in the years to come.
Right, good to know. Thanks for sharing that with my audience. Do you have any projects that the audience can benefit from in the long run? Do you have any you can share if you have?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn if anyone wants to. I'd love to talk to people. I'd love to do a virtual coffee, because that's the kind of project I'm building a kind of a game plan for people that they can have. I realize that most people are very capable of doing this interlook and then back out. So I'll be producing that and make that available for people. So if they want to contact me, I'd be more than happy to get that sent out to them in the near future, because they can most of this stuff is not hard. It's just knowing thyself and understanding and kind of following the playbook. And so we're working on a framework. I've got a framework and a playbook for that, and I'd love to share it as soon as it's done with them if they want to connect.
Best of luck in that, Tom.
Thank you.
Any social media handles and websites? We know you have one, so you can share.
Sure. The company that I work for is called Altus CXO. That's just altuscxo.com. And then feel free to grab me on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest place. Just Tom Altman at LinkedIn. Search Tom Altman on LinkedIn, and you'll find this face right there and connect. Let's connect.
Absolutely. Thank you once again, and Tom Altman. Thank you for sharing your expertise on this topic, aligning tech with business strategy to drive growth and innovation. You are an expertise in this regard, a fractional CTO and tech leader. Thank you once again for your time and also contributing positively to the audience of Flywell Omobola, Stephen, with your expertise. And we wish you best of luck in all of your projects now and in the future.
Thank you. This has been wonderful, and you're such a positive person as well. I love it. I feed off it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you once again. I appreciate and humbled by your feedback, Tom. Now, if you'd like to catch up with any missed episodes of the podcast, you can do so on any cross-promotion platforms or any podcast distribution platforms you bump into online, and do have a great time as you listen to professionals. They share profound insights on topics or subjects that are related to personal development and self-improvement that are going to pivot the positive changes and transformation that you and I need in life indeed, both personally and every area of our lives. I need you to stay safe always. I talk to you soon. My name is Omobola once again. Thank you, Tom Altman, for your time. That was a great show we had.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review.